What's up, everyone? Welcome to popculture.com's group chat, where we talk about all the reality TV news that we care about and you really need to know. I'm one of your hosts, Anna Rumor.
And I'm Jameson Brown.
And I'm Victoria McAdamy.
Hey guys, welcome back. We haven't done this in a few weeks, but how's the vibe? Vibe check.
Okay right now on my end. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hanging in there.
Also,
yeah, hanging in there.
Good as we can hope for.
Get used to the new normal. It's crazy.
It really is. We were just talking about all the COVID, symptoms that we've convinced ourselves that we have over the week. So let's dive into something that is not so serious, something a little sillier. We've got some big news out of the Bachelor franchise we're going to break down. Some sad news from Kelly Clarkson about her divorce. Some kind of expected news with Teen Mom 2. David Eason got arrested again twice, and then some hopeful news with Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick. Are they back together? Probably not, but we're going to talk about it. Let's start off the week with probably the best news and then the most interesting news in my perspective. Wouldn't you know it? Just the same day that we released last week's episode, in which we were calling for Bachelor Nation to make some major changes, they announced that they would have the first Black Bachelor. His name's Matt James. I was hoping for Mike Johnson still, but gotta go with the times, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to be on Claire's season of The Bachelorette, which is not filmed yet because of COVID, but he's obviously not going to be on it now. He's good friends with Tyler Cameron and Hannah Brown. So Bachelor Nation's actually already familiar with him, even though he hasn't been on the show yet, because they were all quarantining together and making a bunch of TikToks. So he's got like a big following. He's very handsome, and he works with little kids. So, I'm on board. What do you guys?
He's like the ideal man, honestly.
Right?
I was doing some research about him last week, and I'm just like, oh, this makes me want to go on The Bachelor just because of him. It's about time, though. It took them long enough, and I hate that it took this franchise this long, but like we've said before, better late than never. But
right.
I'm really excited about him. But I'm with you, Anna. I was rooting for Mike Johnson. I kind of wonder where that was. It Mike's choice not to be that, or I'm curious to know what happened there. But Mike actually released a positive video that congratulated Matt on Instagram, and I thought that was really sweet. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they selected him before he was on the show. They haven't done that since the beginning, but that makes me kind of wonder how fixed the show is, because it's like, oh, so you had just cast him, but you knew he was gonna get far?
Yes,
because they only typically cast bachelors that are on the show for a really long time. So
yeah,
I see where the whole marketing angle is, that they want to pick someone from a previous show that people have already kind of built a relationship with. But as soon as they announced that, I was so excited that finally we have a Black Bachelor. Again, long overdue. But I was texting some friends and I was like, I feel like the show has taken away from the opportunity of anyone being the Bachelor or the Bachelorette.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you have to get on the show, and then hopefully if you don't get picked, then maybe you have this chance of being the next Bachelor or Bachelorette, which again, I see the marketing angle side of it, but I feel like it's taken away from that. Anyone could be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette.
Right, and in kind of the wanting to win point, because I feel like a lot of people campaign for second place on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette because they want to be the next Bachelor, and you can't be if you win.
Yes, so, I agree.
So that'll be cool. I was obviously very excited that ABC and Bachelor Nation has listened to people's call for a Black Bachelor, but it is also kind of coming at a time where networks and stuff are doing things that are very that are good, but you're like, oh, are you being performative? I can't tell if this is going to be long-lasting change or if this is something that you're doing because everyone's really mad, and then you're going to hope that people are satisfied, and then you're going to go back to casting another 40 white dudes in a row. So Rachel Lindsay actually who was the only Black lead ever, the Black Bachelorette, she came forward to Good Morning America, and she was actually kind of feeling similarly. She was saying, I would like them to do something more than performative casting. She was like, I want producers of color. I want them to cast leads who are interested in dating outside of their race, because a lot of the white guys who have been cast have just only dated white girls, and people who aren't just first time on national TV. She's saying, I'm hoping they're not putting a quote Band-Aid over the situation and saying, here, are you guys happy now? Because then we're going to go back to doing what we're doing. So I agree with her there. I think time will tell if this is a change that we can mark as the beginning of something new, or if it's going to be a blip in them trying to get some positive press. But it's a positive blip, so I'm hoping that it will be something moving forward.
Yep. I'm hoping that it's long lasting. Yeah.
Me too.
And through this process, like before, like the quarantine crew, my wife and I found that like there's a huge Reddit community of all of this. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
And that's where we first saw him. So like we've been tracking this like months and months and months before this announcement, and we were pretty thrilled to hear that was what the final decision. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they chose him just because people were thinking before this season of The Bachelorette got delayed, people were thinking, oh, I bet Matt's going to be the next Bachelor because he's Tyler's friend and like he's going to go far on this season, stuff like that. And then the season got to push and I was like, well, they'll probably won't choose him just because we haven't met him yet. But I guess Bachelor producers decided we'd met him enough. So I'm excited to see what he brings. There is one interesting little thing. There was already drama between him and Claire before, obviously, the season started filming.
Yes.
He and Tyler were actually doing cameos for like COVID relief, so I don't really know how you can criticize that. But she came out and said something, was like, if you're already on Cameo before our season even starts, you're here for the wrong reason, and then denied calling them out on it. But it was definitely about them. And I was like, well, you're both kind of right.
But him and Tyler, I mean, they started that like ABC food tours, and like they're all about charity, even before he came into the spotlight. And so he, in his statement, like essentially that's what he was highlighting. Like, listen, yes, I used this platform, but I was also just trying to highlight, something that needed attention. It wasn't necessarily about me. It was about, all these other people that need help. So
right. I mean, clearly they all want to be famous, but like, Claire, you also want to be famous. That's everyone on the show wants to be famous. So
yeah, I think Claire should just sit down, calm down. I get her worry, but it's like, calm down. This dude already kind of had a platform before her anyway, so.
It's just funny. Can you imagine going into that show being like, wow, I'm the star. People are here for me. Like, no, they're not.
Let's
sit down. You're a means to an end.
Yes.
Like, get out of here.
Exactly.
So I thought that was interesting. I was like, well, maybe it's good that he didn't actually premiere on their season, because that would have been a little tense off the start. But also, do I want to watch that? Maybe a little bit. But, hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing who they cast in the season and seeing if it's similarly progressive or if it's a bunch of white.
So they're recasting the entire, like, everyone, right? Or is that still up in the air? Because that
speculated that they were recasting because everyone knows each other, so that would be kind of like weird and unfair. But they haven't said anything official, so
well, that's what
I don't know. They haven't released a lot of details about Claire's season, what the filming is, but it will air first. It's going to air Tuesdays now instead of Mondays, so the Dancing with the Stars and that can air simultaneously. So what a rating season for ABC that will be.
Yeah, no kidding.
They switched a bunch of stuff up for that show. That's for sure.
All right. Until we have more information on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, I think we need to move on away from it. It's warping my brain. I'm dreaming of roses. No, I'm not. Let's move on to the other big celeb news of the week. This was last week that we learned that Kelly Clarkson had filed for divorce from her husband, Brandon Blackstock, on June 4th. They'd been together 7 years of marriage, and they have 2 kids. I did not know that these two were married, so I was surprised and not surprised that they are getting divorced. Were you guys paying attention to this couple?
Well, the only reason I knew
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
there's like crickets. Yeah, crickets. Okay.
my mom was familiar with their relationship. She was like, "Did you know that's Reba McEntire's son?" Which it's not. It's actually her son's half brother. And so that's kind of how I knew. And just because on her show, I've, turned the TV on in the morning before work, and her show is like right at that time when I've got the TV on, and she's like talked about Reba being in the family and stuff like that. So that's the only reason I knew, but they've been together for a minute.
What a yeehaw family.
I know.
Iconic.
I mean,
I don't know. For me, this came as kind of a surprise because when people are so unproblematic and so not in the spotlight, I always assume that they have a better marriage than the people who are constantly talking about it. So 7 years and 2 kids, that's a pretty long marriage. So for me, it felt like it came out of nowhere. But also, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago what Kelly Clarkson's husband's name was, I would have had to like jump out of the cash cab. I would have no idea.
Great show, by the way.
I love that show. Very happy they brought it back.
Yes.
But I'm looking at all of the kind of signs leading up to it. There has been some interesting stuff. There was a interview with Glamour that came out. I mean, God knows when it was conducted, sometime during quarantine, because it talked about that. But like, who knows? It could have been a month ago. Could have been, the day before it was published. But she was saying that she was kind of on a, quote, emotional roller coaster, unquote, in quarantine. Seemed pretty miserable. I'm not going to lie. I mean, quarantine's kind of miserable for all of us, so it's hard to determine what is the having to spend a lot of time with her husband miserableness or just general miserableness. But reading it afterwards, I was like, oh my God, someone help this woman, because she is.
Well, I think for her friends though, it kind of came out of nowhere too. And there's been reports that are saying that like they still could, survive it. Let's just get through quarantine. But I don't know about y'all. I don't think quarantine's ending anytime soon. But apparently their friends were shocked,
Yeah. Well, and I was reading something else, and, take this all with a grain of salt. It's all like a source, which could be Kelly Clarkson herself or like some rando. But someone was saying that like she's super type A and he's super laid back. So whenever they went to Montana to quarantine as a family and kind of get away from the LA scene, it was really bad for her, and they started clashing a lot, which I would totally believe because I can imagine that happening. And she has like 17 different jobs at all times, and I've never heard of him. So I don't know, that tracks for me, but I don't know. It's kind of sad, but if they're miserable together, I guess it's not sad. So I'm neutral in the situation. Right?
Yeah.
So another thing is I saw she did an interview mid-quarantine with Gordon Ramsay where he's got his little baby.
God, I love him.
Just like him, which is so funny because it's a baby. But look at this like grumpy little like British face. But it's a baby, so it's funny. Okay, moving on from that joke that I just explained and made not funny. Well,
listen, anything with Gordon Ramsay is great, but your description of that entire joke was like the best.
Oh, there's no filter. This is just coming straight from brain to mouth. But she was talking with him, and she was saying that she wants another kid, but her husband was saying a staunch no. I'm not sure if that was like a serious kind of comment, but she seemed serious when she was making it. So maybe she also is interested.
Well, she commented on their sex life on her show and said that her sex life was fire. So when you tell everyone that not long ago, you kind of like think that everything in paradise is smooth sailing. So,
well, or it could be an overcorrection on purpose.
Yeah, yes, that's true. I mean,
it could be a cover up. So, but I respect her for not wanting to talk about it and get all
very true
in the public eye.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious. And I also, if it was me in the situation, I wouldn't say a word, and that's very smart. Stay silent, Kelly, but also tell me what's going on. I'm so curious.
Feel free to come hang out with us on GroupChat.
Just DM me. Just let me know. I swear no, I won't tell anyone. All right. Any last thoughts on Kelly Clarkson before we go to a break?
Let's move on.
That was a good one. I'm like on another level today, guys. Sorry. So let's take that break and come back. All right, guys, we are back with some breaking news out of Teen Mom World. The first line in the outline that I wrote was, ugh, this guy.
Yeah. I mean, come on. What is going on here? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. I feel the same way. Like the notes are just a lot of capital letters and a lot of like, ugh-ing. So David Eason, he's Jenelle Evans' husband. We've talked about him before. He's been in a lot of trouble. Been a lot of domestic violence allegations against him. Been a lot of court cases. He shot a dog. I don't like him. I can think that we can collectively say we don't.
I would say like despise.
Yeah.
For me.
So agreed. We're all signed on to the word despise.
Yes.
So last week he was arrested twice in 24 hours, which is tough to do because there's only so much you can do in a day.
You gotta be some kind of special. You gotta be some kind of special to manage that. For sure.
So he was arrested Thursday for failure to appear in a case. It was from an old misdemeanor, if you guys remember it. He like moved this guy's boat without permission, like damaged the boat, and it was a big problem. You know,
random.
Classic, just him being like, why would you do that? Why do you have to be so aggressive? So he got taken in for failure to appear, was released. Then less than 24 hours later, Friday, he's back behind bars for alleged assault with a deadly weapon and communicating threats. He and Jenelle allegedly got into a fight, possibly over the first arrest. Because, that's a big deal. She had some friends come over to their place to help her pick up her stuff. There was a disagreement, and David allegedly pistol whipped one of the guys in the neck and told him, "I will blow your effing brains out."
Literally, with his history in guns and what they just got out of, he's got the nerve.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I go back to, we do this every time we talk about him. I go back to that original video of him that he took of himself, like in his like shed or something, or what it was. Bunker. Yeah. And just, I mean, him paired with that arsenal was,
it's scary. I mean, he posted pictures of himself like sleeping with a rifle. He's been super racist and really sexist, and so he's a monster. I don't like him. So he got arrested. He got released on unsecured bond, which is like a bad idea because he's not trustworthy. Jenelle wrote on social media that she was leaving him. She had taken the children. She told like Celebra Nation, "I'm shaking and saddened by this. It's time for me to move on from this relationship, find happiness for my kids and myself elsewhere. I'm upset how everything ended up, and I wish the situation was taken in a more serious manner." I was like, yes, girl. Okay, get out. We've talked about this time and time again in specific relation to Jenelle on this podcast. Takes domestic violence victims an average of 7 times to leave. So like, yes, we're supporting her. This is a dangerous time, blah, blah, blah. Literally right before we recorded this podcast, a new article came out in The Sun where someone was like, oh, she's saying that she's staying with relatives, but she's back with David and they're back together. And it's like 2 days later. What?
Yeah.
Get out of there.
I know. It's just like, I feel, we support her 100% here, but at the same time, it is what you just said. It's got to get out of there. I just got to do it, just got to do it. Safety reasons for you and your kids,
Yeah. Someone who's proven to be violent in the past. And I mean, there's allegations, but there's also things that we know for sure. He shot and killed a dog for quote unquote nipping at his 2-year-old, which is insane. So he has a history of violence. Jenelle herself has accused and then kind of rescinded him of beating her up. And he's got a ton of guns, and they live out in the middle of nowhere. It's just a recipe for disaster. And
he shows no history of changing positively at all.
No, he doesn't care in the slightest. He has no capacity for self-reflection. It's a bad situation. It's tough to watch. This segment was a lot more fun, honestly, about 5 seconds before that new thing where she had gone back with him came out. So apologies for that. At first I was like, yes, finally, she's gone again. But no, times they are changing. God knows what will have happened by the time you're listening to this tomorrow. I hope nothing bad.
I think she's going to get to a point too, and she may already be here, but like when you choose to stay in relationships like that, people start like saying, I kind of don't feel bad for you. Like I supported you. I was there for you, encouraged you, but if you keep continuing to go back to this person, like there's not much more anyone else around you can do, And so when do you stop feeling sorry for the person who's making these decisions? Like, I get that she loves them. I mean, they have a kid together. I get that, but it's like, it's also not healthy for you. And you kind of admitted that he was abusive towards you. And I don't know, at what point do we just say like, girl?
Well, I mean, domestic violence is such a complicated situation. With all of that, we have to offer empathy because there's such like
Absolutely.
emotional and financial like kind of constraints that come along in victims of domestic violence. And so while I always will offer my empathy to her, and I'm always hoping that she makes the right decision, it is tough to get away from that burnout, like you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. Like people on Twitter, especially because she's such a controversial figure in and of herself. I mean, she's not particularly polite or well liked even before she met him. I'm being generous. So, you take someone who people are actively rooting against, because that's kind of the world that we live in, where it's easy to root against people as opposed to just ignoring them. And then you put her in a bad situation like this, and it's kind of a recipe for disaster because the sympathy runs out really quick. So I hope that everyone can kind of dig deep and find some kind of empathy to put towards her, if not necessarily actively feeling bad themselves.
I don't want her to get harassed by any means, but I hope that she can find the courage to step away and find something that's a lot healthier for her and her kids.
Or just be alone.
I was just about to say, like,
figure that out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, get to the point where you can separate, and then I would hope, like, build yourself back up positively as an individual, maybe through some counseling or through family or however that's done, preferably counseling. And then, situations moving forward, you can tackle those with kind of a new you and new strength. So,
yeah. I completely agree. Let's move on to a little bit more light of a topic now that we've done our weekly after school special. Sorry guys, but there is some speculation that Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick are back together. It's based on the fact that she is wearing his shirt in a picture of her vacation to Montana, or not Montana, Wyoming, the big sky country-ish. So they're in Wyoming. They love Wyoming. I do too, but I think it's weird that they go there a lot. It's her.
Well, it's just because of Kim's ranch.
Right, I guess.
Like, free place to stay. Hey.
Yeah, because they're strapped for cash.
They're just they're struggling.
So it's like Kim, Kanye, Kourtney, Scott, and the kids are all apparently up there in Wyoming. They're all posting pictures from the same place. And I don't know how people do this. I just wish that I had this kind of brain, because I feel like I could solve some kind of more important problem than this. But someone identified the shirt that Kourtney was wearing in an Instagram picture as the same shirt that Scott wore on a date with Sophia Richie like 2 years ago. And I looked, and you know what?
2017.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
It's the same shirt.
2017. It is.
They're correct. It's just insane that anyone knew that. It's just a plaid shirt too. It's not even particularly distinctive.
Well, I will say Scott does not wear a lot of plaid, so for him to wear plaid is pretty, iconic in and of itself. But
couldn't even tell you what Scott wears.
A lot of these days, now that he has his own brand, he's wearing a lot of sweats. I feel like the whole family is just like rocking sweats now. They're just like so
the least
over
comfortable sweatpants in the world.
Yes, the least. They're still very stylish that they wear with heels. The fact that people pay attention that much is just, it's a hilarious thought to me. But I
appreciate it. It's very like, we all have hobbies, and some people are like really booking in these details, and it leads to discussions like this. So thank you to those people. You're all wild, but I love you anyways. So what do you think about the shirt evidence?
I feel
Sure.
like it could have been a like, hey, I just want to wear something super comfortable, or maybe she was cold and wanted to wear his shirt. I don't know. It could go. But then again, like she brings her own clothes. So like, why would you need to wear his clothes? Or maybe she just took it from him one day. Maybe it wasn't even on the trip maybe it was just already in her closet and then she just brought it and then wore it and didn't think people would pay attention. But here we are. I kind of hope they get back together though. I like them.
I kind of do too. I hope they get back together, but whenever I saw the article, I was like, wait, there's evidence, and clicked on it. I was like, well, okay. I mean, like, yeah, evidence in the most circumstantial of ways. I don't know.
I think Scott's calmed down a lot though. I think that he would be a lot more apt to maybe being what Kourtney, has wanted for so long. But I think after Kourtney like broke down on her 40th birthday, maybe she kind of is realizing that like she also too needs to meet him in the middle. I don't know. I feel like they're at a good place in life and they could just come together and be like a, normal couple.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's done a lot of work on himself, which I think has led him to, I mean, we only see these people on TV and Instagram, but it looks like he's a lot more centered as a person. Kourtney's got some stuff to do. Maybe she needs to get away from the old therapist and get to a new therapist, because the old therapist only seems to be making her a little bit more prickly. So I don't know.
Seems a little challenging to get along with at times. I'm not gonna lie. Like she's very like it's her way or the highway, and that can be hard to be around.
Yes, she was one of my favorites in the earlier season. She seemed really down to earth and funny, but in these recent ones, I think it's because she just really doesn't want to film the show. But she seems less,
which is fine. I respect that. Right. She stepped away, which is good. She's only filming I think 2 days a week now. Which is a huge jump from, I mean, I'm assuming they shoot 5 days a week. I don't know, but.
Oh, I would love to only work 2 days a week. So if she complains about that, then that's her problem.
I don't know. I hope they get back together.
Yeah, me too. I think it'd be good. He and Sophia just split up, and why not? I don't know. Let's see what happens. But as for the shirt, why not?
I feel like we all kind of got to a point where we really liked Sophia. So like they first start dating and we're like, that's weird. Like who are you again?
Child
bride,
yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like drama between Kourtney and Sophia. And then we finally are like leveling out. We're like, you know what? They're actually a very cute couple. And she's supporting him through rehab and blah, blah, blah. And then bam, they split up. And I'm like, boom, just getting attached to her.
We just liked Sophia. I just stopped making fun of her for being in kindergarten. She seems nice. I'm sorry. If the worst thing I can say about you is you're young, then you're doing just fine.
True.
Yeah, but I think they would be fun to get back together. I'm excited to see what happens. I will be on the lookout for more shared wardrobe evidence. And I don't know. It's a nice shirt though. I was like, looks nice.
I feel like expensive. Kourtney and Chloe are keeping us on our toes. Are they going to get back with their exes?
Chloe, for sure. Everything I've seen about them is just like, they're getting closer. They're really great. What a good co-parent. I'm like,
I know.
Stop it.
I feel like every time we talk about the speculation, then you post something about a story about them getting closer. I'm like, there it is. It's happening.
It's happening. And don't think you can sneak it under our noses. We're watching it.
Nope.
Well, whatever. One of those days where it's like, I guess it's not my life, so I guess I can move on. Let's talk about pop culture picks of the week. Speaking of our own lives, what has struck you guys this week?
This is I guess a bit of a downer, but like I've seen
Jameson, enough with the downers.
I know. I'm sorry. The past few weeks have been coming in. I used to have a lot of positives. Now, lately I've had a couple downers, but
it's a tough couple weeks. You're fine.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So the new season of 13 Reasons Why came out, and I've been seeing a lot of people come out and just like completely blast it. And I've been dipping in, like watching it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Oh, like my personal take on it, I mean, it's a little much. Like it's like they went down the like every single thing they could like capitalize on, and like they're like, yep.
So that's what I was gonna say. Did they blast it for it just being like a bad storyline, or was it just because like they're pushing the limit?
Yeah, well, it's the first part for pushing a limit. I personally disagree with this show, but this season is just, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous. It is, it takes it to the point of completely exploiting all of actual issues, and so
it's such a bummer.
I'm intrigued to watch this. I haven't watched any of it. Have you, Anna?
I read the book, and then I watched the first season and like the first 2 episodes of the second season, and was like, whoa. I didn't really like the TV adaptation in general. I felt like it really got away from kind of the message of the book. And then the second season, I was like, oh, so we're just going off the rails here.
Oh my gosh.
I shall not be watching.
Yeah, it gets absurd, like completely absurd. So
I'm shocked that they're still making it, but also not shocked because I guess it makes a lot of money.
I think this was the last season, but it just, I mean, literally every single issue that's happening in the world, they're like, okay, let's do this one, and just like make it, so ridiculous and exploit it for everything it's worth, and then slap some like, hey, get help here, which is great, but I just can't believe it. I feel like they're doing that just to simply like
to
cover their
legally.
cover their ass on it, but then go try and exploit it at the same time. So there's my controversial pop culture pick of the week. So
listen, I don't even think that's controversial. I think like we're all behind you with that. That show is too much. What about you, Victoria?
Well, I'm intrigued to watch it now. I don't know. It's always been a weird topic for me to, I don't know. Well, I am gonna maybe bring this to a lighter note, but I thought it was really cool to finally, as a sports fan, it was very cool to see Tom Brady in a different jersey outside of New England. He just premiered the Tampa Bay jersey, and I was like, yes,
so
finally.
Weird.
It is weird. It is very weird.
I like it though. I thought he. I do too. As a Pittsburgher, I don't like the Patriots, so it was nice to see him elsewhere.
I don't know. The Patriots were just getting to a point where it was like, oh my god, like come on, you know what I mean? So I'm very interested to see how he does. I mean, him having Gronk, I think, is going to be an advantage as well. But I think that I'm just very interested to see, assuming we have a season.
True. Yeah, good point.
Like I'm interested to see how he performs under a different coaching staff, different team, different environment, because he's going from like brutally cold to like super, super hot, and so there's a lot of like different dynamics that I think are going to play into making this a very interesting season. And for Belichick, how is Belichick? I think it's really finally going to like answer some questions that people have begged to get answers for a long time. Can Belichick and Brady be as good as they are separately
without each other?
So very, very excited to see that. So just seeing him in a uniform just kind of like solidified it for me. I was like, this is so nice.
And like to say that they're revitalizing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is like an understatement. So
yes. And to think like they might just turn that franchise completely around. And again, it's crazy. So that was cool to see.
Very cool to see for me personally. No, it was cool to see.
And I was like, I could care less.
I know those names. I said the name Larry Bird the other week, and someone was like, who Larry Bird is? Like, yes, I'm not stupid. I live in the world, okay? Okay,
she keeps up.
I keep up, kinda. My pop culture pick of the week is like opposite end of the spectrum. The new season of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After has premiered, and the editors are just straight up trolling at this point, which is always my favorite thing to see on reality TV. They're showing this twerk class, and then they pan up, and you're like, who is it going to be? I don't remember anyone who did twerking, and you pan up, and it's Angela, who's like a great grandmother, and she's like my favorite character of all time. She's wild. Then they're showing Colt, who is like a disgusting person in general. He has a whole history with Larissa, and he's like, pumping iron with his cats, and they're putting music over it that's like really silly. So they're just clearly embracing the fact that the show is ridiculous, and I couldn't be happier when people don't take themselves seriously. So tune in and watch that one, guys, because it's been a delight so far.
I can't wait. That's another one. I keep telling myself I got to start watching that because I just hear story after story about how great that show is.
It's so good, but I do have to tell you that I watched 9 hours of it the past 2 days, and I wasn't having to catch up. That's just how much was airing.
Dang.
So,
oh my God.
Yeah. My brain.
Well, I got an open weekend,
like
so
embrace
I'll
it.
start on Saturday.
I apologize to your IQ in advance. It will drop a few points. So, and with that, don't forget to follow popculture.com. We've got all your up-to-date news on all of this stuff and like so much more. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm at Anna Rumor.
I'm at Jameson G. Brown.
And I'm at V. McGotomy.
And drop us a rating, review if you would like. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, unless it's like a hole in the woods. So we'll see you next week.